You're afraid to move forward, but all of us need to do that.
Sometimes I just feel like I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Sometimes I feel like you need a therapist.
Do you have a therapist?
I did, but he said I didn't need it anymore.
That never happened.
Jessica, ma'am, welcome to the Awards Tour podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I love this because I get to chat with you. I've been a fan of your career for the entire time, and I really love now, Emmy nominated again, like just continuing to have this incredible run with Shrinking. Does it feel like old hat at this point, like to continue to be recognized for this work, or do you still get a little giddy on Emmy's morning?
Oh, I get giddy Emmy's morning. It does not feel like old hat. I am so thankful every time it happens. Definitely not old hat. I'm stressed every time it happens. I am really, you know who's not stressed? I think he's really, really thrilled it happened is Michael, because Michael Urie, I always end up being the one that calls him and wakes him up and tells him he was nominated for an Emmy. And I go, why is it me? I'm calling to congratulate you. How have I done it again? So like this year I called him to just be like, congrats, I love you. It's had to be about 15 minutes after the nominations were announced. And it was the same as last year. He had a sleeping mask on. He was like, hello. And I was like, hi, congratulations. He's like, what? It's like, you got nominated for an Emmy again. And he goes, oh my God, I did. I'm like, what's happening? I'm stressed. So, it's different folks, different struggles.
I feel that he's so chill about it too. Like,
yeah,
I'm in
totally.
a sleeping mask
he's like
and
that,
not caring.
No, he's like that though. Like he takes the work super, super seriously. And obviously he's so thrilled to be nominated, but he was not sweating it like I was. I was really like, wow, I hope I get it. I really was.
We talked about this, I think, with your last nomination when we chatted. I love how the more time you spend on the show and the more time you spend with people like Brett and also Bill and the other writers, they essentially insert aspects of you into the character. Maybe not you particularly, but aspects of your personality that you shine in. And the part of this season that I particularly loved is I think they really nailed how big of a cheerleader Harrison is of you. And so therefore they made Paul an equally big cheerleader of yours within the show this year and being like, listen to her. Like, I loved how that played out. What was your favorite aspect you think of what they did with the character this year that you hadn't gotten to do before?
I mean, that's a really thoughtful thing to say. I remember doing it and I was like, I don't know if as a Black woman, I was like, I don't know if you see too often like an older white man being a champion of like a younger Black woman on screen. And I was like, I feel like this could be really cool for Black women. And so you're the first person in this whole sort of press tour that I've done for that season to bring that up. And so I'm not surprised by that. But like, yes, that was maybe my favorite part. I was speaking into her, which I don't necessarily think I've seen as much. Paul is someone who is grieving something really profound with his Parkinson's diagnosis. And one of the things that makes Harrison special to me, and there's so much that makes him amazing, is that he plays these characters that always act like they don't want to be where they are, but secretly love being there. Or they act like he doesn't want to be bothered by these people, but he loves them. And so with Harrison's character, Paul, doing that for Gaby and showing up for her, that really meant a lot to me. And that really mattered to me for Gaby. And so that's maybe one of my favorite aspects and absolutely one of my favorite relationships on the show. A lot of times people talk about Paul and Jimmy's characters' relationship, which is a really beautiful relationship. And it's one of my favorite relationships on the show. But there is something very special about Paul and Gaby's relationship that's really tender, that I really appreciate you noticing. That is actually, if not, it might be my favorite on the show. That's not really on the forefront of everyone's minds.
Yeah, not to be too personal, but I have my stepfather who adopted me when I was very young is now an old white man, and I just literally see like me and my like dad.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like
Wow.
I see that dynamic,
Wow.
and he's also very similar to Harrison Ford in the
Really?
like oh my God, girl.
Yeah, bless
so
him.
that.
Oh, that's
but
funny.
he watches every one of my interviews and like clips every single one, and so I live
just made
that.
me emotional. Made me emotional a little bit.
That's when you said it. I was like, well, that's
because you kind of know also he's got to figure out how that works. Like, how is he clipping that? There's a lot of effort for him. I don't know how to do that. I know you probably don't know how to do that.
I mean, it was so cute. He was like,
for us.
he was like, show me how to get it. And then he like
That's so
now he and
cute.
like he's Mr. YouTube now. He like
Oh,
looks me
really?
up. It's so adorable. Anyway,
That's
I'm not
so
gonna
cute.
continue to rave
That's
about
awesome.
my incredible dad,
Yeah.
but
Well, they
he's
do have
incredible.
this like, father surrogate daughter relationship. Obviously his real daughter is really important to him, but Gabby's super important to him. I mean, he leaves her his practice. He has a choice and he leaves it to her. And
Yeah.
there's something really lovely about seeing that sort of surrogate father, surrogate daughter relationship on this show. And I'm really happy to hear that that's something that you connected with.
And listen, I also think it's interesting too now. You've been doing this long enough where there are people that maybe only know you from your acting work. Like I'm somebody
Yeah.
that like knew you from Dope Queens and The Daily Show and your comedy work. And I remember like seeing you on like random little improv stuff,
Yeah.
back in the
Oh,
day.
wow. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
what is it like for you? Because you, I think, made a very brave choice with your acting career at a certain point and said, I want to be an actress. I want to be this type of a filmmaker, and really gave up a career where you were doing it. And I think
Yeah.
making a
Oh,
risk is something like shrinking. Does that feel like the reward for all this? Like, do you look back on that now being like, how did I do that?
yeah. I think sometimes people are like, if you were to run into yourself when you're younger, what would you say to her? Because I get asked that question a lot. But then there's like something that what I would say is I would thank her for the choices that she made because now I got here, where I get to do the show and talk to you and get nominated for Emmys and stuff. It's like, what? You thank God you did the middle school plays and drama programs and you're tried out for your high school improv team and you failed and you continue to fail. Like you try things and they don't work and you try a lot of things and they do work. It's like I would really thank myself for cutting my teeth is what my older self would say to my younger self. But yeah, for a lot of people, they're just meeting me on this show, which is lovely. But I didn't come from nowhere. I've been doing this for a while and honing this for a while. And I feel like shrinking is a really good showcase and platform for my abilities as a comedic and dramatic performer. I like to think I could do, especially on Shrinking, that if they need me as a team player, which we are a team, I can do comedy or drama as much or as little as they want. That's what I like to think my skill set is. If they need me to do comedy and they want me to turn it really quickly and turn it into, a more resonant moment, I want to feel like the higher ups can depend on me to do that if it's written on the page. So what I love about Shrinking is that it gives me the flexibility to do that and to really showcase like the range that I feel like I've had coming up in this weird way that I did doing improv and doing the Daily Show and doing podcasting and all that stuff. And because a lot of our podcasts when I did Two Dope Queens, those were all live shows too, so we were doing
Yeah,
these
yeah.
these live shows. You learn a lot about timing and failing, and some things don't work. And the Daily Show was like that too. You every day you do a show, the Daily Show. Every day you do a show, but that means that you kill jokes that you like, and you they just goes on. The show goes on, and then you do another one. But you don't become precious with jokes, or you do become precious with a certain joke, and you're like, no, I actually really want to get that in.
Because you
So
know which ones to be precious about.
totally, it's like picking and choosing. It's about being on a team. A lot of times we say on Shrinking, it feels like we're in a band and everyone has their instruments and everyone plays them differently. And together we have Shrinking. I think that's the key to a really strong ensemble comedy.
And that's very true. And it is an ensemble. This
Mhm.
year, I will say, to your point, if your performance is you showcasing your instrument, you're right. The show, I think, gives you an opportunity to show the breadth of what your instrument will do. But the low notes that they got you to do this season that I hadn't really seen your character do, the messier notes, like there's jokes and there's definitely comedy, but what would you say was your favorite dramatic moment from this season with Gabby? Because
I had a few this season
yeah,
that
you
really
had more this
really
year, I feel. And
remember.
maybe I'm wrong, maybe you would disagree that, but I felt this year you definitely had way more of the emotional moments.
Good. I think we usually have a meeting with Bill and our head writer Neil before you start the season, and they're like, girl, your character's patient's gonna die. Like they were like, you're gonna go through a lot this season to get Gabby to, opening up her own practice. And so, as a Black actress, I'm just hungry for opportunity. I was like, great, let's go, let's do it. I think a lot of times as an actor, Black person of color, woman, you're just looking for the opportunity. You know what you can do? It's almost like you're on the sidelines and you're watching all these white players and they're getting all these opportunities. And you're just like, I just want to put me in, put me in, put me in. And they're like, okay, you're going to have all this shit to do. I was like, great. Oh my God, great. Let's do it. And I think my favorite, I love all the stuff I got to do with Harrison. That meant a lot to me. And then the stuff I got to do with Brett really meant a lot to me when I'm telling him, you gotta get out of here, buddy. That really meant a lot to me. I had never thought that Gabby would be okay with Lewis hanging around. And so that was my suggestion. And Bill was like, okay, which is to Bill's credit, like he hasn't listened to a lot of our suggestions because he knows what he's doing. And a lot of times I'll watch and be like, yeah, he was right, but that when he thought about it was like, okay. And then he said, we'll get to it at the end of season 2. Didn't happen. He was like, whoops, I'll get to it at the top of 3. And we did. And that's maybe one of my favorite things. And Zach Braff directed that episode. And I always have really great episodes with Zach. And I'm really proud of it. I really, if you feel what the character is feeling in the moment, nobody can really say shit to you about your performance. So it's like if you get there, then you let it happen. That's acting. And so it's fun. It's like fun for me to be able to do that.
And I personally found that was a very truthful portrayal of a Black woman in a professional environment because we are the ones to call out the bull. You know what I mean? We are the ones to be like, hey, kids, this is not cute. This is not cool. And I love that Gabby was the one to do that because I also was like, this is not Kumbaya. I know this is supposed to be the therapy show.
Yeah, totally. I know, but that happens. It's like I've seen a lot of things where, parents of victims who died during school shootings have had relationships, at least with the people that have done the murder. Like it happens. And I trust our writers for that. And I'm glad that they gave me the opportunity. But I know, especially for me as a Black woman in the workplace, I definitely am the one that's like, shit's not good right now. Y'all don't see this? Shit's not good. We gotta, fix it. You come home, you're all tired, and you're like telling your therapist, like, why did I do that? Why did I have to do that? And it's like, I don't know what that is, but there's something, the great thing about shrinking is allowing that to be true. Like we have Black writers in the room, and Ashley Nicole Black, I did a panel with her. She's an amazing actress, writer, comedian. She's
definitely, yeah.
Incredible.
Emmy winning, right?
And oh my God, of course, yes. The one and only. And we did this panel, and I didn't know, like, she gets to tell me the other side of the writers' room. She's in the writers' room every day, and she's executive producer on our show. And she was like, I was in the writers' room, like, I don't like that Lewis is hanging around. That's what she said. That's what she always said. She said. So I was like, I didn't know that because I was on the other side, because we're separate. I was on the actor's side telling Bill, like, I don't like that Lewis is hanging around, but there's something so nice about that. We both had that handshake that I didn't know until a couple weeks ago. We were both doing our Emmy nomination thing of like, you didn't like that shit? I didn't like it either. Oh, okay, cool. But again, that was that cool sort of, what a cool thing. I was saying, like, we have to have white allies in order to work at this job, for better or for worse. And the white guys at the top need to be like, oh, you don't think that's cool? Okay, let's get that on TV, as opposed to being like, well, we think it's cool. That opinion's irrelevant because we're in charge. There's something really cool about being on a show where I kind of get to have a say sometimes about how I feel Gabby would react to things. That doesn't happen on all sorts of shows, but on a Bill Lawrence show, it's like very possible. So I feel really blessed to be on the show. And we're shooting season 4 right now. And that's just kind of his policy. It's like best joke wins, best idea wins.
Also, I'm going to ask Bill now the next time I speak to him, because now I'm feeling, and again, I don't want to pretend like writers don't have ideas and it all has to be ripped from their lives. But I do wonder if Bill's relationship with Ashley, because I remember she started as like a writer. Yeah. And I wonder how much the Paul Gabby relationship is a reflection of the Bill.
That's interesting. Oh, that's a really good question.
I'm going to ask
like, where did that come from? That's a really good question.
And I wonder if you could say that's part of it, because she's grown up with the show. She was a writer and now is a producer and has really elevated with it and done her own stuff.
Yeah, that's his girl. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm just his woman. She's a woman. She's a
Yeah,
woman.
definitely
But they're
not. Yeah,
like
no, but
buds, and like, it's like she's the bomb, and she's definitely like done a lot of his stuff. So I'm curious. It's a really good question.
the other thing I also wanted to talk to you about is I love this moment that you're kind of in, and I don't want to always bring it back, but I do love that you made a little surprise appearance back at the Daily Show. I
Oh
do love
yeah.
that moment, and I know that is your career has so passed that, but I specifically loved that because I was watching it every day when it was you
So,
and everybody
oh,
like
thank you.
that.
Thank
What
you.
was it like going back for you? That had to be
It's so
crazy.
nice. It feels like you're going back to college. Like I got that job when I was 22, so I did a lot of growing up there. I went through, 22 to maybe 27. I was on that show, I want to say. And having your 20s there, it was really special. I didn't realize it was a time. I didn't realize I was learning things. I didn't realize that I was going to look back on that part of my life and feel nostalgic, but I never thought I'd be in a situation where I get to be a correspondent with Jon Stewart again. So I think he had seen Shrinking and he loved it, and he got kind of jelly that I was over there doing makeup ups with other white dudes, and so he wanted the old Willie back. He wanted that old sweet feeling, and so it was great. I find myself whenever I go, it feels cozy. It feels like my home. It still smells the same. It looks a little different, but they're always my family over there, and I love them all very much. It's just the best. I feel so lucky that I got on that show. It was a really good environment for me. A lot of times coming up, if you're doing like improv or comedy sports or sketch or Upright Citizens Brigade, you hope to get on Saturday Night Live or become a correspondent. And I'm really happy I became a correspondent. It really fit my personality really well. It's a lot of gentle parenting over there for me. It's really nice.
I dig that. Yeah, that's two different types of dads. I'll leave it at that.
Totally. Oh my God. And
That's two different
I was
types of dads.
totally, and I was just saying, up until that point, I had mean comedy dads coming up, like just the meanest white dudes you could just ever find for no reason other than they were just being dicks. And so I was a little traumatized when I got to the Daily Show, like scared of Jon Stewart. Like, what's this guy gonna do? Is he gonna yell at me? Is he gonna give me notes if I flub something, or if I'm not as funny as he wants me to be? Is he gonna understand me as a Black woman? Is he gonna let me figure my shit out on the show? Like Black women, we don't necessarily get that opportunity to figure our stuff out on the show. A lot of times we have to show up ready and then some. Like we
Perfect.
have to be exceptional, right? To get in the door. So for that, I got to really figure a lot of my stuff out on that show and learn about timing. And I learned about killing your darlings, killing jokes that just aren't hitting. I learned about yes and sometimes the show goes on because it's time for the show to happen. It happens every day. And that made a difference too. It's like you play your game every day, and some games are better than others. And I just learned the kind of boss I want to be, the kind of coworker I want to be on that show. Like I loved working for John. He just showed me that not all comedy white dudes are mean. It's just I needed. And also he had like kind of a no douchebag policy. And so I have that, even now as a 37-year-old. I just have I hate shitty people. I just, especially actors. It's such an elective job. You don't have to do this job. So I don't like divas. I don't understand. And usually they're rich. That's the other part.
They don't
You
need to
know,
be that way. It's like you should
the
be happy.
actor throwing the tantrum, they've had yeses for a long time to get to the tantrum point. So that means they're rich and they have health care. And so it's like, shut up, bitch. Sorry.
Facts. No, it's fair. It makes me ask you because you are a writer at heart. Everybody who's a
Mm,
comedian is a writer at heart.
thank you.
How much freedom are you given in the moment? Because I do know it is the page and they try to really stick to it. But I also know from talking to Jason and talking to Brett,
Mm,
because so many of the writers act on the show, they also try to have a liquidity to it and let y'all try
mm,
things.
mm.
Is there a scene that you got to do where it was literally on the day and maybe you just added in a Jessica Williams bar that you're proud of?
Oh my God, I try and do that for every scene. I can't really remember, but our writers are really amazing and they really write to Gabby really well, especially like the last few seasons. Like they're like, oh, this is what Jessica's doing. Great. And in the beginning, we're trying to figure out who Gabby is. And then I think the second half of the first season, she really comes into her own because we're trying to like, it's almost like the plane's taking off. We're trying to figure out, how we're going to get this character in the air. And so we shoot the writing, for every scene. We're like, what's on the page? Bill, we call that getting the base. And Bill's like, I just want to get the base first. Great. Then you get the base a few times. Now at this point, you do the scene a few times, you kind of know what the scene is now. I know Harrison's feeling this, I'm feeling this. So we kind of have sculpted this thing together. And then when I learn my lines, I usually I have like alts in my head or ideas in my head. And so I just show up every time with a little bit of that. And then we'll have fun runs or like just do whatever you want. You go, great. And then that's when you get to kind of go nuts. But for me, my goal is to always have something spontaneous happen at least once in every scene that I'm in that you feel like you've never seen before. Um, I want you to feel like you haven't seen an actor do this in this place and time, or these two actors are connected in a way that you feel like you're witnessing something unusual. There's like a magic that I want you to feel when you watch me work. And I really feel like I do that. And then you kind of put it away as an actor. We're kind of the last ones to see stuff. You don't know if you're going to be cut. You don't know what's going to happen. It's kind of really out of your hands for like a year. You're like, I hope it comes together. But then they get in the edit and the directors keep the jokes and they're like, yes. And Bill's like, okay, let's keep these jokes and let's kill these jokes. And like, yes, Apple execs watch it. They're like, okay, yes, let's keep these jokes. So again, not to bring up the white people again at the top, but you do this performance and then it's bubbles and then you hope that it like bubbles to the surface over the course of 7 months. And then, it either makes it or it doesn't. It's a lot of really amazing performances and choices just haven't made it because it's been killed in the edit or it's been killed from a director in the room. But for Shrinking, it feels really collaborative and Apple's so stoked on it that it really feels like a lot of those weird Gabyisms somehow make it to the screen, but it just passes through so many people before it gets there. Everyone's just saying, hell yeah, let's do it. And so again, I know I keep saying I feel lucky, but that I feel lucky to be on a show like that.
No, it's fair because I think you probably know talking to other people in the industry, especially folks that look like us, it's not like that for so many. So you
No,
have
oh
to
my
have the
God.
survivor's guilt.
No, I've had that where the director wasn't funny and they thought they were funny and they were like, that's not funny, don't do that. And you're just like, wait, what? And this is like a really, critically acclaimed director. And you just realize like if people don't get you, they don't get you. If there's no way it's getting on air, you want, like for me, I find the jobs as maybe probably polarizing as I am, just because of the body that I'm in, the jobs where the creators are like, fuck yes, like Jessica Williams, those always go really well because they trust me and they trust, what's in here on some level. And then I learn to trust them. But when it's people that are on the fence about me or they're waffling or something like that, like I'm either gonna get fired or my jokes aren't gonna make it or the rhythm is different than I would like it. It's kind of like dating. Like for a comedy show to get made or like a really good product, like everything needs to gel and we need to do a really good handshake between, people for it to work. Otherwise, it's the timing's going to be off or there are too many cooks or some unfunny executives like had their say and they needed a little bit less of a say. It's like I don't know. It takes a lot of people to make a Gaby performance be on screen
Wow.
is what I think I'm trying to say.
And on screen as well as it has. I mean, that's the reason why you're sitting on 3 Emmy nominations. We're going to
Totally. There's a
switch
lot of
that
people.
over to the other word, hopefully this year. But, three for
Oh God,
three.
that would be, oh man, my category is crazy.
It
My
is a
category
crazy
is
category.
insane.
I mean, I feel bad. Like, I really do. It is
It's
just
an
like,
amazing
man.
category.
But
Usually all my favorite characters on shows are in the supporting category. It's where like all the people of color are there, all the queer people are there, all of the character actors are there, so it's an honor to be in that category. I think it's like the coolest category, actually.
yeah, no,
But
I don't
my
disagree with
goodness,
you.
these performances, it is an honor to be in this category. We did a Women of Apple panel a couple weeks ago, and it was like the women from Margot's Got Money Troubles, the women from Pluribus, the women from Widow's Bay. And I was like, I felt like I was at Comic-Con. It was a dream come true. I was just asking all of these questions because it's just it's a really fun time for television right now.
It is a fun time, especially comedy too. And I do feel
Yeah,
Apple,
yeah.
not to toot their horn, but between y'all, Widow's Bay, Margot, like they really, Ampler, they really are like
When
kicking
I
it into
was
high gear.
when I was coming up on the Daily Show, we get to go to the Emmys, and I used to want to go to the HBO party so bad, and I used to fantasize about being on an HBO show and being on such a prestigious network or an FX show and like being able to go to the party because I was on the show that was like the cool network. And I used to dream about that. I feel like, what's that like to be, on a show on a cool network that's trying really cool, interesting things and be nominated and get to go to the after party and get free food. Like I used to be like, what? Oh my God, free food? What? You know? And good food at a cool, it's like we're at BOA, like what? Like, and it feels really cool to be on an Apple show for me right now. To
'Cause I
like
think
what
they're
an
the
amazing
new.
thing that I know I love the work that they're doing. It's like I have an overall deal with them that I just got that I'm really excited about. And I really uh am thrilled to be a part of this. Like being on the Apple, like Women of Apple stage, I was like, this is awesome. And so I'm really like that. I would tell young me that too. It's like one day Apple, who makes your iPods and your iPhones, they're going to have a TV network and they're going to make really cool shit with really interesting women and female characters, And so, I don't know. I feel really lucky. I never thought that I'd be able to get free food like that.
It actually brings me to my next thing because, well, you've already gone viral for this moment, so I can get you to talk about it.
Does that
And
have to do with
before
chips?
girl,
With that?
SAG and Harrison and you doing the I'm actor. Let me tell you a little bit of me. I watch
Go
that
ahead.
clip when I want to giggle because it is one
Oh,
of the
really?
funniest things in the, it's, how you have those
That's
YouTube
so
clips that
funny.
you pull up because they
Totally.
just make
I
you
love his Blade
happy.
Runner. I love his Blade Runner interview with Ryan Gosling and Allison, the Hammond. She's the freaking best. Like oh my God, even her laugh, like she's such a star. Like her and the way she just lights him up and Harrison just realizing what's happening. And I know that guy. And then Ryan just sort of like, watching it sort of happen. But Allison and Harrison, like, are you kidding me with that? I watch that when I want to laugh.
So I just want you to take me inside that because my favorite moment would be like, I told him to turn around. I told him to turn around.
Dude,
I said, don't do it. Don't do it.
I
So
told him. I
I just
told
want
him,
to
and
know.
sometimes you talk to him and he's like, okay, and you're just like, he doesn't care and he didn't. I don't want to waste his time with faff words. And when you go with him to an award show, it's actually the people that you're fangirling over, they're fangirling over him, right? So people are already sort of looking anyway. And I was so nervous. It's a really big deal, to get that I am an actor speech. A lot of people work really hard to get you that opportunity. And I was like, I remember thinking if they sit me by Harrison, everybody's gonna be looking at Harrison. Why wouldn't you just look at Harrison? What, it's Harrison Ford. And so I told him, I was like, Harrison, I need you a little out of my shot because I had seen like the guys kind of come over with the camera. There's not a lot of talk about the shot. And we had this huge screen and I could see as soon as it got to me, just seeing him just want to have like some chips and he just didn't listen to me. I was like, all right, I got to roll with it. Everybody's looking at him anyway. I got to call it out. I hope this works. So I did. And after I told him to turn away and everybody laughed. I was like, whoo, thank God, we're on the same page. And I yelled again, don't look, and then Harrison was down for the joke because it also could have gone really wrong where he'd be like, what are you talking about? But he's a little mischief maker. He's a little mischief prank guy. So he really liked it. It was one of those things where when I went home and sometimes I think about it because it was live, I'm like, wow, I'm so happy that worked out because that could have just been really, really bad.
No, but it
But
was
I
perfect.
do think we had a couple of years of Gaby and Paul to assist in that and making that work. What were you saying? Sorry.
No, I was gonna say also your years of improv because that was like a perfect moment. Like your timing in
Yeah.
that moment was perfect. My question for you is in the commercial break after that, who comes up to you? That was my question is
Good
who
question.
after that happened, who
I
was
don't I don't think I remember because we were all in that room, for a couple of hours. We had no way of really knowing how.
Oh, okay. I was
Oh,
just curious if you
yeah,
heard.
no,
I was just
no,
picturing
no.
somebody
Everyone's
coming up to you.
stressed and sweating. No, no, everyone's like, I'm nominated. Like, I hope I win. Like, it's like a bunch of theater kids grown up in corsets and really tight clothes and suits, just going like this, and just being like, I hope my dog's okay at home. Like, I hope the sitter's okay with my kids, just kind of waiting to see how it goes, hoping they win, trying to hold it at a distance, so they can go on
Yeah.
with their life, but really wanting it. The tension is high whenever you see those. It's not, everyone's pretty stressed, which is why award shows are so weird.
As somebody that lives and breathes them,
Yeah.
I don't envy it. I try not to ever bother y'all. But anyway, I wanted to say thank you again.
Oh my
Congratulations
God,
on the
always a
Emmy.
pleasure. I hope we can talk to you
Anytime,
again next
and
year.
can't wait to see you on Emmy night. I'm sure the
Yes,
drip is going to be
definitely.
great.
Oh yeah, I can't wait. It's next month, so I'm really excited. It's an honor.
Thanks, Jessica. We'll see you
Thank you. I
next time.
appreciate you.